Happy Wine Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday. Woohoo. Mira Boucher. Good happy hour. Welcome, everyone. Carl's Wine Club members, Canadian wine lovers. Happy Wednesday. 5 o'clock now here in West Kelowna. And what a gorgeous day. What a glorious day to travel up and down the valley. Started our day early in the morning in Summerland. After that, all the way down to Okanagan Falls, where we met with one of the iconic, cult Riesling winery down there, Saint-Cromesh, also chatting with Mayhem Wine. After that, all the way back to the Nuramata bench, meeting with a bunch of new people that we haven't met before. It was epic. What a great day. What do you think, Mira? How much fun was that? Oh.
What a great day. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Hasn't it?
Yeah,
beautiful.
So we met with how many new wineries that we are hoping to, entice into releasing some very special wines to us. We met
today and yesterday was like 4.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And did you already say who they are?
No, not yet. I just said that it was so I just said that we met with some people at Saint-Cromesh, that we haven't never had the chance to meet with people at Saint-Cromesh. So all that because we're getting ready this Sunday, 4 o'clock. We're gonna start. About this Sunday, it's the International Riesling Day, so we are getting ready, picking up samples up and down the valley. And we're going to taste Riesling starting at 4 o'clock on Sunday, starting our live marathon. See if we can crack the 6 hours for our Riesling Day. But
we don't have as many wines this time, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to 5, but still.
So we have things like this. All right. We have things like this, right? We have things like this, and 2 full boxes of many more. I can't spill the beads too much because we want to keep some of the thing a little bit more for surprise. But yeah, we have an exciting lineup. Wines all the way, Rieslings all the way back to 2008 from our friend Sue and staff that we just got the box. Hey, should we give a shout out to Preferable?
Yeah, so this time Preferable left the winery 4 o'clock Eastern yesterday, and it got here at 2 o'clock Pacific today. So that was pretty good. Last time there was some kind of issue and it took a lot longer.
Last time we paid for overnight box, over $100, and we got the box 2 weeks later, frozen. So yeah. So this time, door to door from Niagara to West Kelowna in less than 24 hours. That's what I call service. Yeah. Kudos to you. You guys delivered this time. So pretty awesome. So this week, it's Giant Head Week. Yes, Giant Head Week. This small, family-run, almost a cultesque winery. And let me explain why I'm using these very, very strong words, because yes, these are very strong and powerful words, but words that I back up with the juice in the bottles, words that I back up with availability of wines, word that I back up with true feeling of amazingness. So yeah, Giant Head from Summerland, BC.
Stuff. Where do you start, right?
That's why. That's why I'm kind of like I kind of like not sure where to start because these wines. First, okay, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack to 2021 summer when we were getting ready to host the Good Narson, a couple from Calgary who became member early on of Carl's Wine Club. They reached out to us and said, guys, we love what you're doing. We want to go to the Okanagan, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we booked a bunch of appointments. And while we were getting ready to do that, Glenn Fawcett, friend of ours, friend of the show, former owner of Black Hills Winery, posted a
congratulations, like a post that was congratulations to Giant Head Winery for getting gold or something with
gold medal at Decanter World for their Sauvignon Blanc, correct?
I think I don't know if it was gold, but it was the top of the only Sauv Blanc in Canada that got rated by Decanter last year.
Yeah. So anyway, we're in I remember like our new place here at the Shannon Lake, and like we were outside sitting at the patio table outside where I was like scrolling on my phone and just like looking at Glenn's congratulation post, and I showed that to Mira. I was like, oh my god, look, that place in Summerland, Giant Head, never heard of them. And because we saw that post, we reached out to them and we booked a tasting appointment. And we went with the Good Narson. So we went to Giant Head for the first time with barely no expectation. The only thing we knew that they just won a big award with Decanter World, and their Sauvignon Blanc supposed to be amazing, according to Decanter, correct?
That's right.
So we got there. And what happened when we got there, Mira?
Well, I was excited about the Sauv Blanc because lately that's been something I am into. I have discovered. To me, Sauv Blanc smells like guava a lot of the time, and I love guava. So anyway, we went there, asked for the Sauv Blanc, and it was Jessica, the daughter of the owners, who was with us at the tasting patio, and she actually let us taste like 12 of their wines that day, I think, Carl, right?
She kept going back in the tasting room, bringing back different stuff, and she was keep going back and forth and back and forth. Like we had two rosés, we had the Gewürztraminer to start, and Mira started to kind of asking about that very famous Sauvignon Blanc, right?
And every single wine we tasted was like a stop and think wine. Do you know those wines? The stop and think wines where you taste it and then you go, wow, that was good. And it makes you want to try more. It makes you want to try and describe what you're feeling. And it was like, wow wines, like every one. And we had just come from a bunch of other wineries, including some pretty, huge financially backed high-end kind of places. And we were like, this is better than a lot of what we've been tasting. This is outrageously good.
Yeah, and also for me, everything changed in my mind when I started to taste their Chardonnay. She poured 2 or 3 Chardonnay back to back, and now it was like, what the heck is going on here? And Ginny, the mom, stopped by, and like people kept talking about Cremo, this very famous guy from Napa Valley who had a big influence. And the story is that the Cremo is to be the winemaker at Clos du Val, one of the very famous winery in Napa Valley. Like 20 years at Clos du Val, became really good friend with John, the owner winemaker, and I kind of mentored John in his winemaking style. And so the Chardonnays that we had the chance to taste, the 2016 that Cremo and John made together, and all of that, like piled up, like with like a symphony, or not a symphony, an avalanche of flavors in every wines, and like length and concentration and complexity in a small place than Summerland that I would never expect that wines can compete with names like Black Hills Estate Winery or like Checkmate or Martin's Lane. And I'm not afraid to mention these big names because tasting these wines side by side, I've been like at some point, like just like scratching my head and just like saying like, am I freaking making shit up here, or it's just me going nuts and crazy? And again, when I finally, after a year, kind of bugging them and emailing Jessica and emailing John and being in touch with Jim, all of these people, and finally we locked them up into an offer, and we got the box of sample, and the same thing happened in every bottle, every sample we had, prepping for the feature, writing tasting notes. And I rarely see Mira. Like, I'm the type of person sitting down and writing down my tasting notes and putting flavors, and like these wines are, and Mira, every new wine that we were opening and tasting, she was, wow, I can't believe it. And yeah, we're in awe every time. And like the Merlot,
in awe, right?
uh,
Yeah. So what the other thing that was really neat about these wines, right, is the backstory, right? So Cremo was this really well known.
Just 1 second. I got a text from John saying, Carl, I'm ready whenever you are. So, and I'm checking in the green room and he's not there.
Why don't I give him a call? Can I come over and I'll get the number from you. Just 1 sec.
Yeah. Right. How about we do something?
You know what? Why don't you tell the story about the giant head, hey?
Absolutely. This is Giant Head. This is that mountain in Summerland. So funny enough, like we know Giant Head because our kids' school is right there at like at the feet of Giant Head. So we drove this area every single day. And there's wineries like Lunescence that we really, really, really like. And there's also here.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. You got the number. Anyway. So yeah. So there's some echo. Thank you. So yeah. So driving the area every single day, realize at some point that there must be some pretty amazing vineyard in there. And like we did some research and hear about Canon View Vineyard. So the Canon View Vineyard is where everything started between Cremo and John, where Cremo purchased a piece of land in Summerland called the Canon View Vineyard. And this vineyard, if you ask grape purchasers, so wineries or buying grapes and like sourcing some of the top grape source in the Okanagan, Canon View is one of the top Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and also Sauvignon Blanc kind of grape. So Canon View Vineyard 2016 and 2017 from Giant Head Winery. The fruit were coming from that very sought after source vineyard. So anyhow, so we have here in our pack this week the privilege to taste the Canon View Sauvignon Blanc 2019. We also have the privilege to taste Chardonnay 16 and 17. And to me, it's so fantastic to taste these two vintages of Chardonnay side by side because they're completely different. So yeah, Canon View 2016 Pinot Noir was one of the top Pinot Noir from the Okanagan that I tasted. So these wines are so concentrated. These wines are so amazingly complex, terroir-driven, and the usage of barrel, it's something so, sometimes using too much wood doesn't help. It's like putting too much makeup on a beautiful lady. You've done ruined the freaking thing. Okay? Sorry, that's my opinion, and I stand behind it.
Yeah.
But when the beautiful lady put the right makeup on, not in the right amount, and it's just took the beautiful lady to like something like a creation of God.
Or no makeup, right?
Or no makeup at all.
Some wineries that do that, and they do
I'm just comparing the oak, like, because the usage that John is learned to use the oak, that like the way you learn to use the oak with this wine enhance the whole result so much the right way. That's why, to me, that's, sometimes, like I said, like I talk about Mark Simpson. Mark is a very accomplished winemaker, and I always, like, the biggest, like, the quality of Mark, I always say, he's a great blender. He blend grape like nobody else. Sometimes we use like different like qualities to different, but with John, for me, that the biggest thing that I learned tasting his wine is how he uses the barrel to take these wines and these source of great from great to freaking outstanding. Like, the result of these wines are off the chart, like the Sauv Blanc, like skin contact, wild ferment, oak treatment, all of the whole 9 yards together, bringing what can be a simple Sauvignon Blanc to an absolute piece of art. Like that Sauv Blanc, I know, like, it became Mira's one of favorite of favorite. Not only great varietal, but now that Canon View 2019, when I'm talking about a treat, or Mira is looking, oh, no, it's not Pearl Morissette anymore. Oh, we'll always have a little bit of Pearl in there, but she's
looking. Can't drink that every single night because I'd like to, but that would get a little crazy. But yeah, so it's one of my go-tos now. I love that Sauv Blanc. Hey, guess who we have in the green room?
Is he here?
Yes, John Glavina himself is here.
There you go. Bring him in. There you go.
Hey, John. It's so great
John,
to see you.
how's it going?
Hear me all?
Yeah, you're a little bit quiet. Let's see. Let's try again. You're on mute, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll try again. Maybe he has to reconnect. We'll see here in a second.
I think John is at the vineyard right now, at the winery, maybe at somewhere far from the internet connection. We'll try.
Yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me?
There you are. Yeah.
There you are. We got it.
There we go.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you well. I think I was connected to my phone to Bluetooth, so, and maybe my speaker was turned off. Anyhow, how's everybody?
Great. How are you? How's the day? What a glorious sunny day today.
Oh yeah, we've had actually a really good last week since we started pruning. We started pruning about a week ago, and we've got all of the Gewürztraminer prune now, and we just started on the Pinot Noir today.
Oh, so moving forward toward the next step of the growing season, because I would say probably another 4 or 5 weeks, John, and things it's gonna start blooming here in the Okanagan. So am I a little too early here? Let's say 6 weeks maybe.
I always predict that we're going to hit bud burst at around the beginning of May sometime. But the last few years, it's been happening a little sooner. So, I mean, what that means, we have to be tied down before bud burst. And probably that's going to be in the 3rd week of April. We at least want to be prepared for that. Hopefully we get it done.
Yeah, exactly. So, John, how about I want you in 2 minutes. I want you to tell everyone who are listening to us about Giant Head. How everything started. How did you found that beautiful place in Summerland? And how did you get started meeting Cremo and all the story at the beginning of the winery?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Are you asking me now?
Yeah. What's the beginning of your story?
Anyhow, I guess we started off in software. That's how I met my wife, and we did that for about 20 years. And then in about the turn of the millennium here, in 2000, we decided that we were going to come out to the Okanagan and start farming. And so we bought the property in 2003, and it had apples on it. We planted the grapes in 2006. And so the vineyard, I guess, is now pretty much 15 years old. We sold our grapes to Lake Breeze in Naramata for the first few years, and it's hard to live in a vineyard and not make wine. So we made a little bit of wine every year and got a lot of encouragement. And so in 2014, it was the first vintage where we kept the grapes for ourselves and made wine to sell. So 2014, this must be our 8th vintage or something like that now, coming up.
So you're telling me that the bottle of 2014 Merlot that I found somewhere, it's the first vintage of the Giant Head label.
Yeah, that would be. And it actually, I think the first year for the Merlot and the Pinot, we put it at kind of like a lower price point, and our reds sell quite well, even surprisingly when they were so new. They didn't have much time to age, but the wines are best aged a few years, and that's the way they're made, you know. So I would say for the Pinots, 4 years is nice, and the Bordeaux or the Merlot is, 6 years is nice too. But as we sort of evolve with our style in a bit, and I experience making wine with different winemakers, I'm somewhat influenced, and who knows what the best age will be for each vintage. I can only kind of speak to what we've done so far. And in past, we've made our red wine with quite a bit of beautiful French oak, and the good acid we get here in the Okanagan, even with the high level of ripeness, it allows for the wine to age nicely.
Definitely. So after I tasted the 17 Merlot, I was absolutely blown away by the texture of that wine, by the richness and the concentration. And I think that for me, the 15 is just starting to open up. It's just starting to climb up the curve. So I would say, talking for the 20, not the 15, I said the 17, I mean, because I have the 15. I just opened it. I haven't tasted yet. I know that Mira already had a sip. She started to laugh and giggle, and she said, I can't wait for you to try it. So I know that it's something pretty darn exciting here. But after tasting the 17 that I gave 94 points, it's one of the 17 was one of the top Merlot that I tasted in the last 2 years. I would say, if I recall all the Merlot that I tasted so far, I would say across the lake from you, Painted Rock was one of the top Merlot, Okanagan Merlot that I tasted in the last 2-3 years. Now, that's it, that what you're doing, it's right up there. So, John, how many cases of wine a year that you guys are making, just to give our people a perspective of size of the winery?
No, we're very tiny. We do about 1,000 to 2,000 cases. So we do about 1,000 cases off our estate here, and then we try and purchase some grapes from our little hamlet here, and make another 1,000 cases or so. And I really like this area. We're just on a bench above Trout Creek Canyon, and just below an extinct volcano called, oddly enough, Giant's Head Mountain. It's from the tertiary period, 65 million years ago. And so a lot of this area here on the bench, if you dig into the soil and not even too far, and pull out a handful of sand, you'll get a lot of dark color in it. Whereas if you go down to Sunoco Beach, which is just sort of at the mouth of Trout Creek, at the water level, at the lake level, all of that sand is bleached out. So I like the area that we're at because of that um, volcanic ash and the ground up granite and the glacial till here, and it's quite. I mean, it's probably 40 feet deep before we get to the lake.
Wow.
Yeah, and then also the Trout Creek Canyon adds for some nice breezes as well in the fall and in the summer to keep the Pinot cool, and also to hopefully reduce the mildew that we get here in the Okanagan, and if we're not careful with our sprays. So the wind does blow up and down the lake, from north to south, but we also get kind of like an east to west sometimes as well. And then also because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, we are to the east of the volcano, and so we the backside of the volcano is cooler at night, and so there's a wind, a breeze that can blow down from the mountain as well. So we're really kind of lucky where we are, and that's why I like to buy grapes from this area. So I've got some from my friend Cremo, who I'll tell you a little bit about, and then most recently I bought from Terry and Kathy's vineyard, which is just about halfway between the base of the volcano and where we are, but it's in the same hamlet between Giant's Head Mountain and the Trout Creek Canyon.
So with what you do, there's no grapes coming from the south. Everything is Summerland area exclusively.
Yeah, I mean, so far, and not just from Summerland, but from this end of Summerland, from Trout Creek, specifically south of the volcano and north of the canyon.
Okay, because that's your belief, and to me, it's mind-boggling because after tasting the Reserve Pinot, the 2018 Reserve Pinot with density, richness, and concentration, tasting the 17 Merlot, and I'm gonna have my first sip of the 15 Merlot. So you're telling me that these grapes are all estate? These ones, Pinot and Merlot, are estate fruits, correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And your estate now, your vineyard is 15 years old. So what we're tasting here, these wines were made from approximately 10, 12 years old. So these wines, why I'm saying to everyone in the last week and a half that these wines have the potential to be cult level for a reason. You produce so little of it. And the other reason is these wines are that good so early on in the life of the vines. I cannot just imagine what it's going to be in 10 years, 15 years, where the vines are going to be 20, 25 years old. So the potential, it's mind-blowing to me. I'm just shocked and blown away by what you do. How do you offer such a high quality of wine from this unknown area? Like, I'm getting phone call from Ontario and people saying Summerland, we don't know where is Summerland, tell me more, Carl. So I think, John, that we're putting Summerland on the map right now across the country. So your wines are fantastic. Tell me a little bit more about Cremo, because I think Cremo is a very interesting personage. It's a great character in the whole story with his background in Napa Valley, a healthy 20 years as a winemaker at Clos Duval. If I worked for a long time with international wines, and Clos Duval has such a big name on the international wine scene. So Cremo came to the Okanagan, purchased a piece of land, and you guys became friends. That's the start of the relationship, something like that?
Yeah. I mean, Cremo is an incredible story from the time he was a young teenager and left war-torn Algiers, in North Africa, to go and work as a kind of like a refugee almost in Bordeaux. And he worked in the vineyard and was lucky enough to have a winemaker take him under his wing when he was quite young and teach him about winemaking. And eventually he went to Montpellier and made wine in Burgundy. And in about 1970s, he came to Canada, or not to Canada, he came to the States, and eventually worked his way down to Napa and had some friends, I guess, from France, and became the head winemaker at Clos de Val. He had a lovely career there. And then the interesting part, and this is sort of how we got to know him, is Robert Mondavi was looking for some barrels for his Opus One, and Cremo, because he had friends making barrels for him in France, they put their heads together, and between Francis Mercier and Philippe Petit and Cremo, they designed the barrels for Opus One for Robert Mondavi. And anyhow, Cremo's career was as a winemaker was winding down. His career as a barrel seller was winding up, and he began selling these barrels all over the States, and eventually worked his way up to Canada and started selling them to Anthony von Mandel at Mission Hill for their Oculus as well. So with the money that Cremo made selling barrels, he bought a piece of property in Canada, in Trout Creek, not too far from me. And this was about 20 years ago, I guess. And he bought the piece of land, without a vineyard on it.
We have to stop because Carl's having a moment. Look at that. So this, John, what Carl thinks of a wine before he spits it out, because he starts to make gestures. He gets very excited. This is a very good thing. If it's a great, wow wine.
Which wine?
Okay, that's the 15 that I had my first sip of 2015 Merlot.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I love that story, but I had to taste it, and wow, this is spectacular. The ripeness of the fruit, I think 15 was a warm year, correct?
Yeah, it was a good year.
It's ripe. It's ripe, but there's a bright acidity. Even after 7 years, this wine is shining. There's a spice in that wine. There's cloves and cinnamon and even some white pepper at the end. The length, the concentration. Again, to me, it's something. In all of your wines, it's dense, it's concentrated, but the texture, there's such a soft and velvety texture. This is powerful, but powerful in the same time. There's some finesse. There's some finesse in the wine, even being powerful and dense. Wow, what an amazing job. This is fantastic. This is another top of the line, 94 points, or I have to wrap my head around it to learn more about what's in there, but it's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
We had the 17 and the 15 Merlot the last couple of nights, and with my friend Paulo from elementary school, and he's pruning the vineyard with me, and so each night we sort of share a bottle of wine, and all I remember is enjoying the wine, and then when I got to the last bit of the last glass, it had really had the opportunity to open up, and I just went, wow, this tastes really good, and usually, your wines, and it's like, okay, you're expecting this and expecting that, but every once in a while, in the life of a wine, it does have its own life, and it's just like, it just tastes beautiful. I'm really happy about the Merlot, and we've had very good success with it in sort of national competitions, but the interesting thing about the Merlot is that we planted the block over a 2-year period, and we got cuttings from Naramata, from vineyards over there, from Kettle Valley's McGraw and King vineyards, and from Jeff Martin's LaFrenz vineyard, and then also we got some from one of the vineyards that Blasted Church buys from. So they're all clones from the Okanagan, and they're all self-rooted. So it's not rootstock from France. It's all,
Wow.
Pinot. It's all Merlot, solely Merlot, all that has grown quite well and had a good reputation in the Okanagan. And then I've been lucky in 15. I made that wine, that 15 vintage with Tom DeBello. I don't know if you know Tom, Carl.
These are big names. These are good names to be associated with, John.
Yeah, Tom's great. He taught me a lot, and the 15 vintage, I think was even nicer than the 14 because we had really good weather, and it was just such a lot of love making the wine with Tom,
Wow, this is impressive. Again, to me, it's in texture, it's textural, it's velvety, but it's evolved throughout the sip. It's just not like an explosion of fruit and some spice. It just like goes and it's so well built, and that acidity was preserved nicely. And I'm tasting a little bit more of 15 vintage right now from other region, especially from the south, and it's starting to fall apart as we speak because there's not enough. It was such a hot vintage. Sometimes I see the wines crumbling because the backbone is not there anymore. This is still very, very young. This is as another 8 years in front of it. Like this is just starting.
I really enjoyed it. We did a lot of punch downs. We punched down probably 3 times a day. So it wasn't pump over. It was actual gentle punch down. And there was quite a bit of surface area in the fermenting vessels. So, you're not like you're punching through a 3-foot cap. You're just pushing through, maybe 8 to 12 inches at the very most, and so you can give it a gentle punch down, but everything's getting mixed together, blended together, and all of the juice, and then eventually the wine is running through all of the cap evenly, completely evenly. The seeds are gently extracted in the sense that we tend to crush we don't do whole berry ferment with the reds. So the seeds all end up at the bottom of the ferment, and we never push all that into the press, when we're pressing. So we try and avoid a lot of that, heavier, oilier kind of tannins from the seeds. I don't know if that's what does it. It's probably a combination of a few things. And the texture that you're talking about in the structure, we don't fine with egg whites, and we don't filter at all. So all our red wines are unfined and unfiltered.
This is purity. This is absolute purity of Merlot. Like if you blind taste me, I will bet my 3 kids on the table and say that's Merlot, because that cannot be anything else. That's purity in the bottle. It's so pure, but it's so rich, dense, and concentrated. And like, again, to me, the texture, it's just velvet in the mouth. Wow, it's so impressive.
And the fruit.
170 cases? 170 cases, right?
Oh, of the Merlot, I think there's like none left of the 15 Merlot. But we made, I think on the back of each bottle, it says how many cases were made. And that's fairly accurate, probably within a few cases.
Yeah, it says 172 on this one. So,
yeah, so it might have been 165 or so. And then, there's very little left. It's lovely. And the 17 has turned out quite nice too. The 17 I'm enjoying as well. Now, is it just the 3 of us, or are there a bunch of people I can't see because they look like vineyards on the screen?
Yeah. No. It's just the three of us on the stream, but people are listening to us on three different platforms here. There's
Yes,
probably 150 people listening to us.
or tuning in from different places. Yeah, at different
Wow,
times.
incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
So we had a great question here from Elaine. As you were starting to talk about the barrels, maybe we'll get back to the barrels and the story with Cremo, because he came selling barrels, right? So Elaine's just asking, do you use the French oak? Is French oak preferable to American oak for the Merlot?
Yes, for me it is. I mean, not to be a snob about it or anything. It's just that the French oak is tighter grained. And when I met Cremo, when I was planting the vineyard in 2006, I went into his little winery in his vineyard and tasted the exact same wine out of 8 different barrels. And when I tasted the one out of the Opus 1 barrel, it just seemed different. And I kind of got goosebumps. And I looked at him and he said, "What do you think of that one?" And I told him it's amazing. You can't tell me it's the same wine. He said, "Yeah, it's the exact same wine. It's just the barrel." And
Wow.
the American oak tends to be a little bit harsher. I mean, people use Hungarian oak and all kinds of different kind. But the French oak the grain tends to be a little bit tighter. And so that's what I use, just French, and mostly
And
from one cooper. But we do use a few different coopers.
I think, like, to me, like complexity, barrel complexity. There's nothing like French oak. I sometimes I would say that Syrah might suit well a little bit of American oak to bring that little sweetness and spice. But when I talk about barrel complexity, this American oak all the way through, there's no doubt about that. I'm with you, and I think it helped to play in the length of that wine as well. And there's so many steps of flavors evolving right now. That 15 is in a very good space. I agree with you. In that life cycle, this 15 now absolutely shining. I cut you off while you were talking about Cremo because I got too excited about the sip of Merlot 15. So if you want to, because there's something that I discovered tasting the wines, especially when I went in. I did the Chardonnay. I did the Canon View Chard 16 and 17. I did both side by side because I like to taste two different vintage together side by side. And it was clear to me that the influence, there was a different influence between these two wines. There was definitely that oak. There's oak on both wine, but it doesn't show the same way between the 16 and the 17. So tell me the approach on between two wines.
The main difference, besides the vintage, and slightly different acid levels, the main difference is that the 16 was 100% brand new French oak, and we
100%.
100% brand new oak, and we used 6 DJ barrels. They're French. They're Dargeau and Jaglet. They're really nice. And it was so interesting to find out. My cousin is retired now, but he started a winery in Europe. And I was over there visiting, before COVID, and they used the same barrels for their Chardonnay. They used the same DJ barrels. So it's kind of nice. And actually, it was Tom DeBello that suggested the DJ barrels for the Chardonnay. And we also used a couple other ones. And the main thing with the Chardonnay, and I will get to the difference between the 17, is that they're fermented in the barrel. So we start the ferment off in stainless steel. And then once we know it's going, then we move the bubbling, gurgling ferment into barrels. And we leave about, 20 or 30 liters in the barrel for some space so it doesn't like bubble over. And we put an airlock in it, and it's just sitting there. We had 10 barrels in the winery, all kind of like burping away, just like you would expect to see in a carboy or any other vessel. Now, the difference between the 16 and the 17 vintage is essentially that we only bought 3 new barrels for the 17 vintage. And so it was 30% new oak and, roughly 70% second-year-old oak for the 17 vintage, but all fermented in, in the oak barrels. And then what we did in the 16 vintages, we moved a portion of it into stainless steel. So after the primary ferment was done, then we moved some of the barrels into stainless so that we can arrest the ferment, and we don't run through malolactic for all of it. So we leave a portion back. We don't want it too creamy, too buttery, too essentially sort of like California style. We wanted to keep it a little bit crisp, so we just held some back for malolactic. But essentially, other than I think the acid being maybe a little bit lower in this 17 vintage, and the new oak, that they're made quite the same way.
Yeah, there was definitely that the oak profile was different. There's more, I would say, to me, on the palate, the acidity was shining more on the 17. There was more citrus. It was more citrus profile on the 17, and I was more on orchard or exotic fruit like pineapple, grilled pineapple on the 16. So there was but yes, we have such an amazing acidity in the Okanagan. So that's something that they don't have down south. They would pay millions of dollars to get the level of acidity that we have here. So these wines are built to last. I think the 17 Chardonnay had so much more to offer in the future, to my opinion. And so these wines are made such in small batch, such in small quantity. And John, you don't release your wine until like you take your time before. Many small wineries are in an 8 to 12 month cycle. Harvest, press, a little bit of barrel, get that to market, because it's a cash flow thing, right? But you hold your wine at the winery as long as possible, and I think we really rep the benefit here.
No, yeah, thank you.
These are fantastic. So, John, thank you for your time. That's mostly what I wanted to touch base with you. That was the Merlot. I'm so impressed. Your Chards and the Pinot, all of that. What you do, it's iconic. What you do, I wanted everyone to know. I want everyone, all wine lovers across the country, that what you do, it's freaking mind-boggling, crazy good.
Oh, thanks, Carl.
Yeah, we have some love coming your way here. Karen Freemark is saying she first tasted Giant Head last summer. Yum. Big cheers to Lisa and Jared, who were with us that time when we met with Jess last summer. They introduced Karen. And then someone's also saying it is so good, Karen. So yeah, we're really excited to have these in the club. There's many people excited to receive their wines next week, and then keep us posted on when they end up opening them, which is going to be anytime between next week and 10, 20 years from now. So you'll be hearing from us a lot.
Hey, John, before I let you go, I have one question for you. I know it's a kind of a question that people hate hearing, but what is your favorite wine that you produce? Are you more of a Chardonnay guy? Are you more of a Merlot? Are you more of a Pinot? What's your jam? What do you love personally?
I'd have to say the Pinot Noir. It's the most challenging, and by no means am I satisfied with what we're doing. But we have in the past have had some glimpses of what it could be like, and so that's probably my favorite is the Pinot Noir.
Thank you, John. You're a gem. I can't wait to swing by so we can chat longer, but keep it going, man. It's absolutely fantastic. People need to know, need to discover your wines because it stands shoulder to shoulder to all of the top in our country. I put you right up there.
Oh, Carl, that's really, really kind. And I, you know, for me anyway, that encouragement is really, really important because at the level that we're doing things for 1,000, 2,000 cases, we have to do so much on our own that sometimes it feels more like a burden than a joy. And as you know, if you're not joyful and enjoying what you're doing, you can't really be good at it. So,
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You're pretty freaking darn good at what you do. And don't let anyone tell you any other way because you are top notch, John. This is fucking fantastic. So keep keep up the good work. I know that my mother-in-law listen right now, and she would say she was gonna text Carl. You swear again live. That's okay. That's okay. It's worth it. Your wines are fucking fantastic, John.
yeah, and you know what? Swearing isn't as bad as smoking a joint. Elon Musk was smoking a joint on his podcast with. So, you know, as long as your mom doesn't see you doing illicit drugs, then, you know, you're all right.
You're the best. And John, we're gonna bring a boatload of people your way this summer because we're having emails from people from all over the country who wants to come and visit this summer. Guys, hey, by the way, we're moving in Trout Creek in a month. We're moving nearby the winery. So
we'll stop by with all the people that come through. And we just had someone email me just 2 minutes ago saying, I can't wait to visit in person. So thank you so much for everything you're up to. All these amazing wines.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We hope we have
good luck with the pruning.
Oh yeah. Hope the weather keeps up and we'll be done early.
Take care, John. Have a good night. Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Thanks for purchasing the wine. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, John. So,
wow.
I have goosebumps. Here, look, I have goosebumps. Like all over my body. I got that guy here, John Glavina, talking about how he makes his wine. Tasting his 2015 Merlot, estate grown from a 10-year-old vineyard. I just cannot wrap my head at what it's going to be in 10 years. When this vineyard is 20 years old, it's going to be, it doesn't add up to me, like how good it's going to be in 10 years. It's crazy.
It's pretty spectacular, hey?
It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. These wines are fantastic. And one thing that we need to mention, when I talk about like iconic cult level, I'm not shitting anyone when I mean it, because these wines are not available anywhere. These are like 170 cases made. He had 10 cases left of the 2015. 10 cases left. We're sitting there for like, it was what, in early February when we went, and he opened a bunch of bottles, and for the first day, like we were tasting all of that stuff. And here we're sitting there tonight. We just had an amazing conversation. There's 94 points, Merlot 17, and like he mentioned, he loved this. I can tell he loved the 17 Merlot. It was my highest rated. The Chardonnay, I knew. And remember what I told you when we tasted the 16 versus the 17 Canon Chardonnay, and I was talking about the barrel usage. There was something different between both.
Yeah.
Well, the 16 is 100% barrel, right? New French oak. 3070 for the 2017. Wow. It's
that makes sense. Yeah. That's
crazy. I haven't heard your opinion on the 15 Merlot.
Oh, it's a very interesting, complex wow wine. Like, this is a wow wine. I was just thinking, we had Merlot Day back in the fall, and both for Merlot Day and Cab Franc Day, I feel like we had so many awesome wines. I don't think we had any over 95 points, right?
Nope.
No.
No, I had the Arena from Ice Cellar. The Arena went all the way at the top. Also, the Addendum from from Black Hills was 94.
But that was a blend of Merlot and other things, right?
Painted Rock was 93.
Yeah. So these Merlots would be right up there, probably in our top 5 if we had tasted them during Merlot Day.
Oh, absolute fucking late. Sorry. Shoot.
The 17 might even be one of the, we'd have to taste it side by side.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And that 15, now, like, that 15 is absolutely at the top of the curve right now. I see the 17. 17 is going to go on forever.
Yeah.
The 15 is hitting, like, is closer. It's obviously, it's closer to hit its stride. It's already priming at its max right now. The sweet fruit are there. There's a little bit of plum raisin, but not too much. Just a hint of raisin. The nose does not offer zero hint of oxidation at all on that side. There's caramel coming out at the end. There's spice. There's length. There's complexity. But I believe this is great. This is fantastic. I'm giving the nod to the 17. I think, for one reason, as I think the 17 has more to come. I would say these wines are like head-butting each other at the whole top, but 17 may have more in the tank and may have more surprise down the road. I think there's a little tad much to offer.
Yeah,
but
totally. And Lisa's on tonight. So good to see you, Lisa. And she's saying, do you remember she put all the wines she tasted on Vivino? So she'd be able to tell us which ones they were. But I'm pretty freaking sure we never tried the Merlots because they say they're not really releasing those till 2023. They had a 14 Merlot, which was their first vintage. And we happened to have found one at a liquor store nearby.
Yeah, I have one bottle here.
Yeah. So sometimes you can, in BC anyway, you can.
John couldn't believe it. John couldn't believe it when I told him I got a bottle. I was like, how the f did you got that? Like they don't have any at the winery. It doesn't
Seriously?
exist. Yeah.
Oh, we should taste that with him. We should do a vertical.
Yeah, we should do something like that for sure.
Maybe the next Merlot day.
That 15 has that sweetness of ripe fruit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that where I'm seeing a little bit of it, it's at the end of length. Maybe the 17 has a little bit more length than the 15. But yeah, the texture.
Enovino.
Eh?
I want to try the 15 with the Enovino because
I did.
You did?
I did because you had the first sip. Without the Enovino, I pour it back in the bottle. I Enovino it back in your glass.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Ha! I think this is Lisa also. We need a photo op of us drinking Giant Head wine in front of the Giant Head sculpture in front of the Synovus building downtown Calgary. Yes. And then we'll take one over here, Lisa, in front of this thing, the real Giant Head.
Yeah, you remember there's behind the truck, I think it was a trailer at the winery. There was that painting that the kids love. We had a picture of that. It was it was a year ago. Yeah. I remember because I remember the first wines that we've tasted, there was 2 rosés to start, and it was like, wow. And that's how everything started. We had rosés. After that, we had Sauv Blanc. And I know that I remember Jess going back and bringing some Gewürztraminer. And after that, when she brought the 16th, I remember Jared lost his mind when he tasted the 16 Pinot Noir. That was for him, it was the top.
Yes, the 16 Pinot Noir. It's very special wine. We had it a little bit ago.
See, I just flashed. So we just got our. I put collector edition here, and I think that was Mira's idea. I think that was really, really well chosen. That's the collector edition for this one. The price are not cheap. I agree with that. But believe me, everyone, what's in the bottle? It's freaking epic. Absolutely epic. So what do we have in the lineup this week is we have the Reserve Pinot Giant Head 2015, the Giant Head Rosé 19. We have Canon View 19 Sauvignon Blanc, Canon View 17 Chardonnay, Merlot Giant Head 17 and 15, and our two bonus pick are the 2016 Canon View Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. These two wines were made by John hand in hand with Cremo, and that's where Cremo had a really big influence on what John did, especially on the 16 vintage. So, and
for those of you that weren't here earlier, Cremo is a winemaker from Napa Valley that was at Clos du Val.
Yeah, Clos du Val.
Famous Napa winery, and who started the vineyard that the Canyon View wines come from, and worked closely with John Glavina to get the winery started. So yeah, that's what Carl means by Cremo.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, this selection, again, they're not available online. It is one of a few wineries in the country. They don't sell their wines online. If you go in Vancouver, and some of the top restaurants may have, like, that's where you find the top wine of Giant Head in the best wineries, in the best restaurant, the best table of the lower mainland in Vancouver. If you go to somewhere like the Naramata Inn, all of these top small table, awesome restaurant, you find Canon View wines and Giant Head's wine. Outside of that, these are pretty much not available anywhere. That's where I come from with because cult wine, it's something pretty crazy. Like, you don't mention cult wine 5 times a year. You don't do that because cult, to me, it's something, it's not available. It's something that people wish they can have, wish they can put a bottle, but because of the rarity and the availability, these wines are so hard to get. And that's what happened with these wines. So yeah, we've been waiting for almost a year to this point to be here where we are, and to have John tonight speaking with us for 40 minutes. It was pretty darn cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Loved it. And I can't wait, now that we have that 14 Merlot, to maybe pull that out next Merlot day and give John a call. And maybe he can stop by, because he's like less than 10 minutes from our new house. So maybe he can stop by during our live and taste it with us. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be pretty darn cool. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's cool when we get the samples from the winery and we sit down, Mira and I, and we do the tasting notes and we taste the wines. But I don't recall any of the winery, any since we've started, that we dug. Was the right word? Dug that deep into tasting, so deep into these wines, because we just couldn't stop, right? We just wanted to know more, because we knew there was more to discover into these wines.
So we were laughing because it's very rare that we actually finish a bottle. Not because they're not good, but it's because we taste like 3, 4, 5 wines every day. And so you can't drink that many bottles, right? And these wines were actually like empty. Like, you've got a few empty ones there.
So look, that's the 18 Reserve Pinot, okay? That's the Canon View Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
17 Merlot.
Nice.
The splash. So, oh, by the way, 17 Chard, nothing. Oh, 16 Pinot, nothing. Like these bottles are all empty because we just went deep into that, like tasting over and over again. And how many times we were like, oh, wow, did you get this? Did you get that? Oh my God. Yeah. So if any one of you guys are listening and you want to treat yourself, or you said you're saving a wine budget for one very special winery at some point in the next couple months, this is the one. I'm telling you, this is the one. Not that what we're going to do in the next few weeks and next few months are not cool. Just because it's not available anywhere. And these are so special.
Very special. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Carl Boucher, it's past 6 o'clock here, Pacific time. What are we up to on Sunday?
You know what? I have a really, really tough day on Sunday.
Yeah, this is the hardest part of our jobs.
This is a really tough day coming up on Sunday. It's International Riesling Day. I have 30 Rieslings arrived from all over the country. By the way, I thought I had less than that, but I counted them earlier. It's 30.
Oh, really? He's like, oh, I think this is going to be a smaller one. I think we're only going to have maybe like 20. Okay, we have 30. Nice.
We have 30. It's International Riesling Day. We're going to have Sue and staff who's going to join us live. She sent us some 2008 Rieslings, 2012. So we had a bunch from her. So we have Pause from Ontario. We have Megalomaniac. We have Bellaterra. So we have a lineup, an incredible lineup of Riesling arrived to our house, and we're gonna go live for 5 hours on Sunday. I know.
Yeah. And Jared's asking, when's the next 30 Cab Franc Day? Well, I think it feels like we just did it, but it was in the fall. It was before Christmas.
It's November.
November, Cabernet Franc.
Was it November? Yeah, Cab Franc was, because Cab Franc was in December. You remember?
December 4th each year. So this year, when is December 4th this year? I'll tell you. It's a good winter trip to the Okanagan, guys. December 4th is a Sunday this year. So we'll be on live on Sunday, December 4th. Maybe you guys can take a 3-day weekend and come hang out with us or something. It's good. We're going to be
like I showed at the beginning, we're going to taste this. But by the way, I saw that Daryl tuned in.
Yes.
I know that Daryl Hickey from Ontario. Daryl, I know you're a Chard and Pinot guy. Darn, man. I know that you got a little flood in your house, but if you have just one spot or two left in your cellar, these wines, you have to give it a try. Oh, man, they're special. So I thought of you. This last week when we tasted, especially the 2016
Pinot.
Yeah, this one, the 2016 Canon View Pinot. I had a really special thought of you, Daryl. This is something. So yeah, fun. That was between 1,000 and 2,000 cases production.
And I gotta say,
that's mean like in years like last year, where the crop is it's like very small for everyone. That's mean he's making like around 1,000 cases a year. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's very small. Very small.
And so good. So good. So yeah, if anyone's bored on Sunday, join us.
Stop by.
We're gonna be live. We're gonna be live at 4:00 p.m. 4:00 Pacific. So starting at 7 Eastern. Shuan is the first one to join in. It will be 8:30, I believe, Eastern time. After that, Melissa winemaker at Intersection is going to follow. No, Max Legree from Lunescence in Summerland is going to join us. And after that, Melissa from Intersection is going to be with us as well. All talking Rieslings. And yeah, very fascinating, great varietal, because there's many things you can do with Rieslings.
Yes. And if we go back to, and you know who might also stop by is Alan from Synchromesh.
Yes, Alan from...
we met him today. He said he might be out in the vineyard. He might be doing something, but if he can, he's going to join us for a little bit and chat Riesling, because they make, what, 9 different Rieslings?
Yes, 9 or 10. Yeah, 9 or 10 different Rieslings.
Yeah, so they've got a sign on their gate when you go to the winery. It says "Powered by Riesling."
Yeah, hashtag powered by Riesling. That's pretty cool. So yeah.
I gotta say something about this Merlot, Carl Boucher. So this is the first wine where, when I tasted the 17 Merlot, you said, "Wow, cinnamon and cloves," and it was like, to me, like, oh yeah, that is cinnamon and cloves. And I get the cinnamon and cloves on this on the very last part of the finish.
There you go.
It actually makes me feel like I just ate like something cinnamon clovey, because my breath is like exhaling it as I talk. So,
you know, and with the 17 Merlot, it's the first time that I compare a wine to the Spadefoot Toad Syrah 2014 from Summerhill in terms of texture.
That makes some sense, because it was 100% French oak, right?
Yeah, the 2014 Spadefoot Toad Syrah from Summerhill Pyramid had something, made it to number 4, my top wine of the year 2 years ago, for one very specific reason. It's because the texture was something that I rarely, if never, experienced, that soft, that creamy. And for the first time, when I tasted the 17 Merlot, and Mira was right with me, I said, this reminds me the texture of the Spadefoot Toad Syrah. So yeah, there's many unbelievable things happening in your mouth with these wines. Either if the 16 Chard versus the 17 Chard, either it's like the 2019 Canon View Sauv Blanc with the wild ferment, skin contact, barrel age, like name it, they have all of the description, makes for wines like completely crazy. So
very good.
Giant Head Wineries here until tomorrow night. When it's over, it's over, guys. When it's over, it's over. So family owned. It's John Glavina, Ginny. John is in the vineyard. John is in the vineyard and making the wine. Ginny's helping the vineyard, and Jess does the tasting room. It's a family affair. There's a new little boy now. Jess had a little boy. So is it a boy?
Yeah, Leo. I think he's 6 or 7 months old. Yeah.
So yeah, small family affair. 1,000 to 2,000 cases. Cult level wine. I'm telling you.
Crazy good. Awesome. Well, so great chatting with you guys. Michelle says, can't wait to try. Yes, we can't wait to hear what you think, Michelle. This is one of our very favorites so far in this last year and a half of discovering Canadian wines. So thanks so much for joining us, you guys. Happy Wine Wednesday.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members. It is Giant Head Estate Winery. So thanks for joining us. Let's talk on Sunday.
Riesling Day. Woo!
Boom.